Good evening, everyone. We'll give you a few minutes. We're waiting for a few more folks to join, and at that time, we'll start our program. But we thank you so much in advance for joining us this evening to learn more about exciting new things happening in Durham Public Schools. Good evening again, everyone. We'd like to take a moment to welcome you and thank you for joining us tonight as we begin to engage more with you regarding Elementary School F, soon to be named in southern part of Durham. My name is Sheena Cooper. I'm the Director of Marketing Community Engagement for Durham Public Schools, and it is a pleasure to have all of you join us to take a little bit out of your time to learn more about what we have going on in Durham Public Schools. DPS is growing, Durham is growing, and that's so very exciting. And that's why we're in front of you tonight to talk about the growth and expansion that's happening here in DPS. Tonight on the call, we have several folks within DPS administration who are joining us, and we'll have an opportunity to introduce ourselves to all of you in just a couple of minutes. But before we get started, would love for you to take an opportunity to click on the link that was just dropped in the chat. It is a Jamboard. We want to engage with you. We want to hear what you're thinking. We want you to share your thoughts with us. We have a few questions on the Jamboard. And so if you click that link, and I'm happy to talk through Jamboard if you are unfamiliar on how to work the process of Jamboard. But on the left-hand side of your screen, you should see a column, and it has a few tabs that you can select for you to share your feedback. The one that is fourth from the top on that left-hand column, it looks like a sticky note. So you would click that, and then you can simply type in the box your thoughts. And once you push save, it will add it directly to that screen. So if I type in test, boom, there's my test comment right there. And you can certainly go through and share your thoughts with us in that manner. At the top of the screen, you'll also see some tabs to go to the next frame. We have 4 questions. What are the values of our community? What does success look like? Oops, pardon me. What does a 21st century school look like? Next slide. What are your concerns for this project? And finally, what does success for this project look like? So if you could take a few moments and share your thoughts with us. And then as you're doing that, we will share some more information about who we are. At this time, I will turn it over to Dan Schnitzer, who is the project manager for this new elementary school. Dan, take it away, and he's going to introduce you to some of our team members at DPS and also with the design team.
All right, thank you, Sheena, and thank you everyone for being here with us tonight. We're going to spend the first part of this evening introducing ourselves and introducing the project. You are able to access the Jamboard throughout the evening and can continue to add comments. Towards the end, we will look through and start to cluster and respond to some of the comments, as well as take a few minutes for other questions that might come up, and we'll ask that you put those in the chat or on the Jamboard as we go through. So yes, only right now, I believe, momentarily. Thank you for that comment. This introduce the DPS staff as well as the people behind the project and know who's listening on tonight. So to get started on that, Dr. Monk.
I think he asked me to introduce myself.
You are here and could do a brief introduction of yourself.
Yep, I was right, y'all. Julius Monk, I am the Deputy Superintendent of Operational Services. So glad to see each of you here tonight to give us some ideas about the school.
Thank you. Mr. Davis.
Good evening, Frederick Davis, Director of Design and Construction for Durham Public Schools. I'm also a proud product of Durham Public Schools and also a proud DPS parent. I'm excited to be here to listen and learn what the community feels are a successful creation of learning environments for DPS. So thank you all.
Thank you. Palmer.
Thank you, Dan. And Dan, it may help to buffer the bandwidth if you turn your camera off temporarily. We're having a hard time hearing you audio-wise. There you go. Good evening, all. Matthew Palmer, Executive Director, School Planning, Transportation, and Nutrition, Durham Public Schools. Thrilled to be here to talk about your vision for this project and your feedback for our team. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I apologize. Is this any clearer?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Ms. Carroll, if you're with us.
Hi, my name is Erin Carroll. I am Durham Public Schools Outdoor Learning Specialist.
Excellent. And again, I'm Dan Schnitzer. I'm a project manager for sustainability and capital improvements, and I will be the project manager for this elementary F project. So as we go through this project, you will hear a lot from me, and on the DPS side, I should be our first point of contact for questions, concerns, feedback, congratulatory remarks, anything that comes up. And I also think it's important to note that we have some of our design team here tonight as well. From our architecture firm and our contractors. So we'll start with our architects at Evoke Studios here in Mr. Harris.
Yes, I'm Edwin Harris. I'm the co-founder or a co-founder of Evoke Studio Architecture here in Durham, North Carolina. My other partner, Terry Canada, she was not able to make it here, but I'll let Billy, the other co-founder, introduce himself as well.
Yeah, thanks, Edmund. I'm Billy Askey, also co-founding principal of Evoke.
Fantastic. Thank you both for being here. Contractor team with Denny, if you could introduce yourself, please.
Gladly. My name is Denny Mangum. I am a project executive for this project for LaChase Construction. I'm also a Durham native. Myself, my two older sisters and younger brother are all Durham Public School graduates, and even my 95-year-old dad is a graduate of Durham Public Schools, Durham High. So we're just honored to be a part of this project and really excited for this team and for this opportunity in this part of Durham.
Good evening, I'm Brent Smith. I'm project manager for the Chase SGS team. I too am a product of Durham Public Schools, as well as a current parent of Durham Public Schools. I'm looking very forward to this project. This is in my backyard, so I'm very proud to be a part of this team and look forward to working with everyone on this project.
Thank you, Brent. Denise?
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Denise Barnes. I am the Regional Diversity Manager for LaChase Construction, and I also am heavily involved in community engagement. So I look forward to engaging the community and bringing some D&I to the project. Thank you.
Thank you all very much for being here and for the introductions. I wanted to take a minute. I'm going to turn it over to Matthew Palmer with DPS to talk for a few minutes about why Elementary F and why it's located where it is.
Thank you, Dan. And once again, good evening all. You can tell from this DPS staff panel, as well as those folks that were fortunate to support us in our design and construction teams, we are thrilled to be pursuing a new elementary school at the intersection of Martin Luther King Jr. Parkway in South Roxbury, right in the center of Durham. Now, the map that you see here is just kind of a big overview of all of our schools. But one of the things that we have right now if you come up and down MLK or you know Central Durham well, we're building a lot of houses. In fact, there's already a lot there. Many of those schools in that area are at or over capacity. And you see it when you go by Hope Valley, or you see it when you go by Pearson Town. You certainly see it at Bethesda as well. Much of Central Durham is growing residentially, but also much of our Central Durham elementary schools are at or beyond their capacity to support our children in our community. So strategic goal priority 5C for Durham Public Schools says that by the year 2023, 100% of our elementary schools will have a seat, a real brick and mortar seat for every child. That's a big thing because we've got almost 100 mobile classrooms in our district. How do we get there? Well, we're renovating 6 schools. We're building Lions Farm Elementary down on Scott King Road in Southern Durham. And this is really the centerpiece for us to be able to bring in a total of 800 seats in the heart of Durham. So it's going to alleviate overcrowding, yes. It is funded through our capital improvement program. Then in conjunction and coordination with our Board of Education and the Durham County Commissioners. And you can find out more about this project by going to the engage.dpsnc.net. I want to point out a little typo here. I believe there's not a dot between DPS and NC. So engage.dpsnc.net. That'll be your site, and you can find out more information about this project as well as all of our projects that we're doing with our construction program. And once again, we want to give kind of a backdrop of this. Durham as a community is growing. We all are familiar, well, hopefully many of us are familiar with the active construction you see from downtown to the far eastern part. This is part of a larger intentional plan by Durham Public Schools to ensure that we have a seat for every child. One of the most fundamental charters we have as a community and as a district is to make sure that if you're an elementary age student, we can support you, we can bring you in, and we can get you into a suitable classroom for your needs. So with that, I'm going to ask you to go to the next slide, hand it over back to Dan. And certainly if you have questions about any of the why elements, we can go deeper, but rest assured, we are thrilled to have this project on, moving forward and to be getting into the design phases of it.
Thank you, Matthew. And I'm going to turn it back to Sheena just for a moment to review Jamboard. I'm going to take my screen share off now that it is editable to give people an opportunity through this meeting if they'd like to fill in some notes. So Sheena, if you could take that away while I correct that web address.
Absolutely. If you can refer to your chat, you'll see a link to the Jamboard where you can share your ideas. And we have a couple of questions for you just to respond to so we can get an idea of what you all are thinking and feeling as we move forward with this project. So if you click on the link, it'll pull up the Jamboard to share your comment. If you look at that column on the left-hand side of your screen, go ahead and click that sticky note, which is the fourth icon from the top. And then you can just share your thoughts right here. And once you click save, it automatically populates, there we go, to the Jamboard. So if you could take a couple of moments as we continue to work through the presentation, just to share your thoughts with us, that would be fantastic. I'm going to delete sharing my thoughts, but also at the top, you'll see the arrows to the next frame, and then you can scroll through to the other 3 questions that we have. So thank you so much in advance for sharing your thoughts with us, and we will refer back to the Jamboard a little bit later on in our program. Back to you, Dan.
All right, thank you. So the project team got together early in the process to create a project mission statement. We felt it was very important that as a team that we'll adhere to and we believe really will.
Hey, Dan.
All right, I'm back. I
Dan,
apologize.
It's okay. If you, I'll chime in. I think I may have a little better bandwidth. And so as Dan was articulating, we had a internal session with DPS and our contractors and design team to really make sure that one of the key words that I think makes a successful project is collaboration. So we got around the table and devised a mission statement that we felt embodied what we want to get out of this process in building and designing a school, as well as for DPS and the children that will be impacted once they got in. So from that, this project mission statement stated that we endeavor to imagine and design and construct an environmentally responsible and transformative elementary school that ignites the natural curiosity of children. It will serve as a beacon that cultivates the limitless potential of our students. And so we'll hopefully, as we get further into design and construction, this will continue to be a staple and something that we will adhere to as we get through all different phases of design and construction. Next slide, please.
Thanks. Again, feel free to interrupt if my connection goes out. I've tried to change. One of the key elements of this project is making sure that we're working closely with our curriculum and instruction department to align the goals of 21st century learning with the goals of the project, to create a space that not only enables, but really enhances the educational and academic vision of Durham Public Schools to propel our students into the future. And so I want to run through very quickly 4 of those core concepts. The first is adaptive learning and an environment to match pedagogy. So the idea is we can't have spaces that don't meet what our teachers are trying to accomplish. And in this case, that represents itself in the decentralization of the classroom, that learning happens everywhere. It can happen inside and out. It can happen in the hallways. It can happen in common spaces. So the design of this facility will include some semblance of standard classrooms, but they will be flexible. There'll be flexible furniture, there'll be flexible shared space. And the idea is that there'll be a nice flow where it's enabling teachers to move their kids around, break out into groups, and work in a more collaborative and collective environment. The next, of course, is student-centered learning. The phrase that we're using is we're going away from the sage on the stage model. We want students to be incredibly engaged in their learning. We want them to be excited about it, and we want them to have a role in guiding where that goes. And we believe that our facility needs to encourage that behavior. We want it to be a place of awe and wonder, a place that kids are excited to come to, that's healthy for them to be in, and that enables them to explore. And of course, a key element throughout this project, not just construction, but the education that will go on, is that school is really about community. It's about building community. It's about building trust. It's about knowing community resources and knowing what's out there. And we hope that throughout this process of construction, but also through the many years we'll be in the neighborhood, in the community, and in this building, that those relationships and partnerships continue to expand and grow. I think it's important that we go over what our current timeline is. And we are here in September. Back in August, just a few weeks ago, we held an in-person community meeting at the Boys and Girls Club, which is one of those community partnerships we hope to develop more deeply throughout time. We do plan on having quarterly meetings throughout this construction process. So this will not be your only opportunity to provide feedback. It's a good opportunity, as is the engagedpsnc.net site. But we will be holding these, and depending on the circumstance, it may be in person, it may be online, it may be a combination. But there will be opportunities to provide feedback and as we go through the process. Our goal right now is for construction to commence in June of 2022 and completion in August of 2023. So now we'd like to, I'll take the screen share off and share for a few minutes some of the comments on Jamboard and have an opportunity to ask any of our staff that is here any questions or share any concerns. So I'll turn it back over to Sheena to help moderate us through that Jamboard conversation.
Absolutely. And if at any time anyone has any questions that they would like addressed, you can certainly feel free to use the chat as well. And after we conclude the Jamboard portion, we can certainly address any questions that you may have there. What are the values of our community? That was our first question. We got a lot of different responses here, but equity, ensuring that this is an equitable project. And equity can be defined in many ways. And certainly through this process, we will sit down as a team and we'll work with our community members to really have those values bubble up. And super excited about these things being raised now, so we can certainly address those to ensure that every student who enters these doors, the doors of this new elementary school, will have an equitable access to learning and education and growing and opportunity. Will the building strive to be green? Dan, I think that is right up your alleyway, and you can certainly respond to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that question. The short answer is yes, absolutely. It's a core value of our mission statement. And personally, it is the work that I do. My title includes the role of sustainability throughout the district. My background, I was the Director of Sustainability Capital Improvements with Chapel Hill Schools before coming here to Durham, and had a similar role within a Chicago public school. Sustainability is a key driver and element to everything that I do. As a district, we have developed learning environment guidelines, which are the technical design specifications for our new construction and major renovations, and they are heavily steeped in environmental responsibleness. And that includes everything from waste diversion throughout the construction project, limiting disturbance to the existing site, and materials that we've chosen, and how we engage and interact with our students in the environment once the school is constructed. So we also have very aggressive energy goals for this project, and our architecture and contracting team can share with you that we have and we will continue to push our engineers to achieve some very ambitious goals to lower our environmental impact, as well as lower our expenditure on utilities.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Dan. Also, I want to go back to that equity topic to let all of you know that our Office of Equity Affairs actually just recently developed an equity policy for the district. So we will certainly be referencing that, not just for this project, but for all things that we do with DPS, making sure that we are looking through an equity lens when providing opportunities for our students. A question that we have on the Jamboard is, isn't fall 2023 an ambitious goal? And perhaps Mr. Davis, you can speak more to the timeline and our construction and planning around this.
Thank you for that question. I will take a page out of Deputy Superintendent of Operations, Dr. Monk. He has a phrase that is always seems impossible until it's done. So one might say that that schedule is very aggressive, but our board has agreed to do a very aggressive delivery method in construction management at risk. And what that gives us an opportunity is be unique and strategic in terms of building packages, as well as getting things permitted and approved, maybe not in the traditional fashion all at once, but to answer short of your question, we will look at other alternatives to make sure that we meet that goal of 2023. But we will continue to provide updates throughout the process if we need to move that schedule. You're on mute, Sheena.
That would certainly be helpful. Thank you so much. On to our next slide and question. What does a 21st century school look like? One of our sticky notes is pandemic ready. Certainly we have learned a lot last year and also that started this year as it relates to ensuring that our schools are safe and our students are learning in a capacity, and we're taking into account all of the things that are happening around us in the world. You know that your DPS team is working aggressively to ensure that all of our teachers and staff are safe and learning in the buildings. Dr. Monk, do you have anything that you would like to chime in regarding that?
Well, I'll be right there.
Mr. Palmer? Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, Ms. Cooper. And Dr. Monk is going to be joining us on camera in 1 second. Bear with me.
Okay, please repeat the question. I'm sorry, I had to step out for a second.
Thank you. The question is, what does a 21st century school look like? And our response was ensuring that we are pandemic ready. And I know that a tremendous amount of work has gone on behind the scenes last year and into the start of this year regarding the safety of our students inside the school buildings. But what perhaps would a pandemic ready situation look like for a new build school?
Okay, certainly, good. So we talk a lot about social distancing, indoor air quality, outdoor learning, outdoor eating. Those are some of the features that we get to incorporate in this new facility. We were fortunate, if I could use that word, that the pandemic hit when it did, because now our designers, have some experience dealing with this on other things, and they can incorporate it into this project so that we'll be, ready for not only another pandemic, but even, the basic flu season. That's normally a time where we see a lot of absences from students, and it's akin to the coronavirus as far as being a respiratory disease. So we know that the importance of having quality indoor air quality, and we're going to be able to incorporate all those lessons learned from the pandemic into this new facility. But beyond things like the mechanical system, into integrating the environment and the outdoor into our learning process. So we're really excited about it.
Thanks so much. Our next response is talking about the options for flexibility in the deployment of technology, not just built to one particular implementation that'll be outdated in a few years. Can we talk about some of the modern technology that will potentially be in place for this new school or any of our new schools that are coming on board, and how we can continue to grow and expand student learning through that flexible technology?
Sure, I'm happy to begin addressing that, and I turn my camera off so I don't get choppy. A few things come to mind as we work with our curriculum and instruction department on the design of the classrooms. One of the elements we're looking at, instead of one centralized teaching wall, we're looking at the potential for multiple monitors on different walls, so students can be looking in different directions. It's not all sitting in rows and columns facing forward. And then the opportunity for internet access everywhere, inside, outside. As a one-to-one district, we need students who can work in the hallways, work in these common spaces, work in outdoor classrooms and outdoor spaces. And so really it's an opportunity to have a connected campus where anywhere they are, they can access the technology or disconnect from the technology that they need to. And for the classrooms themselves, this concept of having not one centralized focal point really provides the opportunity, again, for students to be broken out into groups, to be facing different directions, to be where they need to be to learn best, to not, if you're in what was traditionally the back of the room, you don't have to look a far distance to see what's happening towards the front of the room. And so to some extent, it's actually a less complicated technology system that will be in place. But the more modern pieces of it will include the intercom system connected to the phone system, and of course how all that's tied in with the security system. So we think it's a real model of how learning can happen anywhere and connectivity can happen anywhere where necessary.
I'm going to interject real quick. I think just to piggyback on what Dan was saying, I think what we're really striving for is to create an armature for learning, right? So basically the school is really just a framework and a structure that allows limitless flexibility, because the reality is we can't project what's going to happen technologically over the next 5 to 10 years. We can guess, but we don't know for sure. But what we want to make sure is that we don't get stuck. And I think one of the comments on the vision board, on the Jamboard, spoke to that. We are definitely thinking about the future. These are real investments. You know, public schools are, you know, it's the public's money. We take it very seriously. And we want to make sure that what we do is establish a building that allows for flexibility and allows for, you know, communities to evolve and move in the future. And so that's kind of the framework that we set up. So with regard to the technology, I think we are, you know, looking to implement leading edge technologies. But again, we want to provide that flexibility for the future.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And then we have another note on what a 21st century school looks like, and that means a year-round schedule. And so thank you for sharing that. And we'll certainly take that back to the administration and team for further discussion as we start to really look at how this new school will operate moving forward. Our next slide. What are your concerns for this project? Where will the students come from? The neighborhoods, which neighborhoods will be impacted by this? Mr. Palmer, can you shed some insight into this process?
Indeed, thank you, Ms. Cooper. And with regards to the direct neighborhoods that will be affected by this project, in an exciting way, we can actually say, well, we don't want to specifically name one neighborhood. And part of the reason for that is that DPS is undertaking a larger project to look at our systems of student assignment. And by that, I'm referencing both our neighborhood geographically assigned schools, which in this case, the most proximate ones would be Hope Valley to the west, and Bethesda to the east, and Southwest to the south. But also we'd be looking at our system of school choice, which includes, as you may know, to the north, W.G. Pearson, and to the south, Pearsontown. We really need some consistency and a larger comprehensive plan for how we're assigning students to schools. We cannot say at this moment exactly what this will look like for elementary school F, as Ms. Cooper said, soon to be named. We're excited about that process, and that'll be our next step. The school does need a name. We intend to engage with the community and the surrounding area about that process as well. But in the meantime, I would encourage folks, we talked earlier about the importance of visiting that engage.dpsnc.net and check out our Growing Together project. Again, that is looking at our neighborhood-based assigned schools in conjunction with our system of school choice. We're working extremely hard to bring equity and access to innovative programs across Durham. Realize right now that there are some spatial neighborhood inequities around who has access to what. We're working very hard with our administration under Dr. Mbanga's leadership, as well as with our Board of Education to evaluate that, and are excited to be kicking that off very shortly here with our community partners, and certainly, hopefully, many of the folks that are on this call. So I'm not punting, I'm pointing you more towards a deeper and I think a very important conversation that is right around the corner for us.
Thank you so much. Our next comment is regarding staffing and how will we staff this school? And certainly we don't have a representative currently on the call from Human Resources, but certainly DPS has a process for hiring staff throughout the district, at school staff on all levels. And certainly that's something that we will continue to do and when the time is right to begin engaging around placing staff at the school. So please know that we know that these are challenging times, but certainly our team is proactive in ensuring that we have the best staff at our schools serving our students. Our next concern is traffic. And certainly with any new school development or any activity involving students, there are concerns about how they will get to the school, get home from school, how that will impact the surrounding neighborhoods. Can someone please speak to any traffic concerns or provide any feedback regarding that at this moment?
Yes, I can start, and I'll ask Billy to also chime in as well. With regard to traffic for the site, we are concerned about it. We are aware of it. We understand that it's going to impact, the neighborhood, but we want to kind of mitigate that. We've already started a traffic impact analysis study to check to see what those impacts are. We've been looking at traffic calming scenarios, and then we're also trying to control or have as much of the vehicular traffic. We're controlling most of that on our own site because that's a requirement. And so these are already things that we're looking to do to try to mitigate the impact of traffic along Roxborough, the adjacent sites or the adjacent surroundings of the school site.
Yeah, that's right, Edwin. We've been working on the traffic impact analysis and working with North Carolina DOT and DPS and making sure that the school fits into the community in the right way. And then I think another thing to add on is just kind of making sure, using the site itself, making sure the school is appropriately sited so that there's not traffic conflicts between users and visitors to the school and the traffic along Roxborough.
Thanks so much. Our next comment regards the impact of redistricting on students currently at other schools. And Mr. Palmer, I know you referenced that Growing Together project that we are conducting right now. We'll be looking to speak to more of our community regarding more in the future, but can you share any more about what that process may look like for students at surrounding schools? Absolutely.
Well, and something that we want to be cautious about. Our words are important, and I'll just take 1 second to point out. Districting occurs when we do a census like we just did in 2020 and are redrawing our district lines for our Board of Education, and or you have the inception of a school district or school system, which for Durham was the year 1992-93. So what we're really looking at, and I want to point this out, is what is the current system of school choice and student assignment across all of our elementary schools, 30 that are built plus the 2 that are under construction right now. Forgive me, one's under construction and one we're still in design. But point being is that it will involve and touch all of our students as we look towards the future for student assignment around school choice. Now, we do anticipate that at this phase, that's going to be a conversation that we have with our board and community about, a phasing in process, more so than a light switch that, in the year 2023, it's going to be a newly constituted system of student assignment. It may be much more likely to be. We're working this in gradually as we ensure that there is greater choice and greater equity and greater access across Durham rather than siloed in certain pockets and not others. So again, that is a conversation we're looking forward to having. I won't go further with it as far as hypothetically or conceptually saying how it may affect some and not others. I want to point out that we're intentional about being equitable in our procedures and our policies and making sure that those are aligned. We have values as a school board and as a community and as administration, and we want to ensure that our practices align with those values. So to that extent, again, we would strongly encourage you to not only visit, but subscribe on the engage.dpsnc.net portal to get more access about the Growing Together project. We've been working on that with our board for over 2 years. And you can see an archive of from the summer of 2019 to this current day, the evolution in our work with the board, the information that's available. We really look forward to bringing that to our community here this fall. So what I can share for now, and I'm happy to answer more, but I want to make sure that we're particularly focused on this brand new elementary school and the surrounding community.
Thank you so much. And on our last slide, the final question, what does a successful project look like? Response is a place where students are excited about learning. And I think that's the goal for all of us on this call, to ensure that all Durham students are proud and excited to be in school, and they have facilities that support learning every single day. We do have a question in the chat. Do you have a map available of exactly where you plan to develop? Mr. Davis,
We do not currently have a map to share, but if you are familiar with, as Mr. Palmer said, the intersection of Martin Luther King and Roxborough, that plot of about 30 acres, I may be incorrect on the number of acres, going south is what we plan to develop. Again, we're going to be very cautious and environmentally friendly on how we disturb the site. I'll ask our design team to give a specific number, but we have been very intentional on being mindful of the natural habitats. And so in a traditional elementary school, it's usually more of an H sprawling shape that you'll find throughout the district here and other surrounding counties and municipalities. What we wanted to do, and thanks Dan for showing that kind of slide, we want to, make it as compact as possible to again, understanding that it is a very dense population, but I want to make sure that it's very walkable and reduce as much traffic congestion as possible. So I will say that we do know one thing, that all access egress will happen off of Roxborough. There will be no DPS traffic into and out of the site from Cook Road. And so that means also during construction, all access will be on the Roxborough, and that main thoroughfare allows to accommodate the congestion that will happen during construction and then after construction. Edwin or Billy, if you want to add anything in terms of placement on the site, feel free.
Yeah, I can start and I'll have Billy kind of follow up. I think one of the things that's really important to know is, we're really mindful of the site, the ecology of the site. Sustainability, as Dan spoke about earlier, is like at the forefront of what we're doing. Not only sustainability of the site and the ecology, but allowing the building to really be an example for the community and for students to learn about the importance of the environment, and the building really serving as that example. So because of that, we're going to be very compact on the site. Also, because of just the site topography in general, it does not allow us to have a building that sprawls out, as Fred mentioned earlier. What's going to happen is, the grade falls off quite a bit. There's also a stream that's running along the right side of the page, and there's a stream buffer that we're really, we can't build in, and we have no desire to build in. We think that's going to be a resource for students and for the community to really enjoy and be able to observe nature. So there are a lot of conventions that we're taking into account to make sure that we really touch the site as lightly as possible. So with that said, I'll let Billy follow up.
Thanks, Edwin. This kind of site is particularly exciting for us as designers, and we're working with our landscape design team in particular, kind of leverage the outdoor opportunities of the site, and that really starts with kind of minimizing the building's footprint, making sure that it still has all of the educational spaces that it needs, but really thinking about opportunities to connect students to the natural environment and take advantage of that as an inherent sort of learning environment.
Thanks so much. We certainly want to provide you with, we have another question. An urban gym northwest of Cook Road and Brown Street adjacent to Valley Ridge development. Thank you so much for that comment, Ms. Hanley. And we certainly do want to provide you all with more. And we have more time to answer any questions, so feel free to drop a question in the chat. Or if you would like to, you could raise your hand and use that feature on Zoom, so we can give you an opportunity to speak if you would like to verbalize your questions this evening. I also wanted to take a moment to recognize Natalie on the call. She's one of our school board members joining us this evening. Thank you so much, Ms. Beyer, for being here.
I'm here too, Ms. Cooper.
Hello, Mr. Sutter. Great to see you this evening. Do we have any additional questions? Mr. Hill. We are excited to share about this project as well. I think we've all heard over the years about all of the growth, and we're seeing it and we're experiencing it, and it is now super exciting to be able to provide additional schools and resources to our students, continue to grow our district, and to most importantly serve all of Durham students. So thank you all so much. And this is not the last time that you will hear from us regarding this project. As Mr. Schnitzer mentioned earlier in the call, we plan to have quarterly meetings, and you'll continue to get information from us. We have a great relationship now established with the HOA, where we send them updates and they can share with all of the neighbors. And certainly engage.dpsnc.net will be an opportunity and resource for you to continue to engage with us, pose any questions that you have. In the coming weeks, we will also formally open up our naming process. So we encourage all of our Durham neighbors to participate in helping us name the new school, which will be open in August of 2023. I'm going to turn it back to Dan for any final comments prior to our closing.
Thank you so much, and thank you all for being here, from the DPS staff, our design staff. We are all here to listen. That's why there's so many of us here. We have a role to play in the project, and we look forward to that continued partnership with you. And as Ms. Hanley and I are having our side conversation, we love the site, we love the environment, we love the urban gem. I'm thrilled to be able to walk it with some of you, talk about it, and I would be happy to invite our design team and others along if they're able to make it, so we can turn this virtual conversation with boots on the ground. So thank you all so much.
Wonderful. If there are no further questions, we will let you go for this evening. I also would like to thank Truett O'Neill, who's behind the scenes helping us this evening to bring this event to you. But again, thank you all so much. We are proud to be Durham residents with all of you, working toward a common goal of making sure that all of our students are learning and growing in Durham Public Schools. Please do not hesitate to reach out to any of us following this meeting, and we'll certainly be in touch with all of you soon. Have a fantastic night and a wonderful weekend.
All right, that was really exciting. Really exciting, yes.